Welcome. I'm very excited to be here today to talk about what is a somewhat new topic to me, Salesforce Sustainability Cloud. You would have recently noticed that Accenture and Salesforce announced a partnership around taking the product and matching our services together to create a new technology platform for how customers, clients, investors, and others can manage their impact on sustainability. I'm Stacey Pence. I've recently taken over our Salesforce business group within ANZ. I've been doing Salesforce work for quite some time. I've worked closely with them to develop a whole bunch of products, and I'm excited now to learn a whole new one with Sustainability Cloud and think about how can we take that to the next level to drive a different impact on our world. So Fred, I might have you introduce yourself before we get going with our chat today.
No, thanks, Stacey, and super happy to be here with you today. So I'm Fred Navels, and I work with our clients to drive intelligent operations, and that also includes sustainability operations. So we work with our clients day to day to drive sustainable outcomes from a lot of their third-party spend management and procurement outcomes. And what we see at our clients is that our clients' procurement teams are really expected not only now to drive cost reduction and contribute to top-line growth, but also drive sustainability objectives such as driving down zero emissions, drive supply chains with a zero risk profile, including social risk, and also drive zero waste solutions for our clients' supply chain. So I'm, for one, very happy to hear about the Accenture and Salesforce Sustainability Cloud initiatives, because our clients will require new approaches and capabilities and business models to deliver upon those expectations.
Yes, it was very interesting once the announcement came out. Fred and I spent quite a bit of time trying to track each other down and get to meet. I was very enamored to learn that while the carbon footprint is very important around sustainability, there's actually so much more to it. It's so much about the environment, social, no poverty, thinking about everyone under the water, helping not everyone under the water, the animals under the water, but also helping just even small business owners from a minority perspective. And since it is a really big impact, it's much broader than kind of what you might think about. So we're very excited to think about how we can bring the best of Accenture again together to kind of drive, again, a different experience. So many of our customers are using Salesforce for their day-to-day business activities. And what Fred and I are trying to figure out is how do we bring all of this great work that's been done to date around data, integration, analytics, and surface that up in Salesforce. So I think we'll get to a little more conversation about that. But Fred, maybe just take us through kind of what you've seen transpire in the last few years that you've been around sustainability locally.
Absolutely. And it's definitely been a journey, Stacey, where sustainability used to be a bit of an afterthought, and cost reduction was the prime driver. The old way of looking at things was really, I've got this carbon footprint, how can I get rid of it? And with energy being the vast majority of scope 1 and 2 emissions for most organizations, we've been helping our clients leveraging our advanced energy management services analytics capability to help drive an optimal energy purchasing profile, as well as optimizing their energy mixes in terms of shifting to renewables. And then leverage advanced analytics and IoT to bring data, and there's lots of data into one platform to drive down consumption of energy, and then as a consequence the emissions. I mean, bringing that data and creating that level of visibility has been an eye-opener for most organizations. And with the increased requirements on reporting requirements, we really make it easy for clients to go about it in that way. Moving from a manual way of scrambling around finding data for 6 weeks, really to give them the data at their fingertips, and then using that data to create value, not only from a cost reduction perspective, but also from a sustainability perspective. Then our procurement teams, or our client procurement teams, have been running off in a bit of a siloed approach, trying to assess their suppliers' capabilities in terms of when it comes to risk profiles from an environmental and a social perspective. So now the key question is, how do we bring all of that data and those insights together under one umbrella? And again, that's what's truly exciting about the whole Accenture Salesforce Sustainability Cloud initiative, because the new way of approaching things is really leveraging that data-powered ESG way of looking at things, really embed ESG as a new management approach throughout the organization. So for any cost reduction or any growth-related initiative, use that leveraging an ESG approach.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that's what we're kind of looking at as a first step, is all of the data that you've taken and integrated together, that we now have a framework and a dashboard within Salesforce that our CEOs can actually use to have that benchmark and that starting point. I think one of the challenges is, while we've heard that the CEOs are, and you can talk a little more about this, but CEOs are very focused on the fact that this is an important initiative for them. I think they're kind of wondering, well, what is my impact? How can I measure that, and how can I track it? Interestingly enough, I think a lot of us think about, for example, COVID as a digital disruptor, right? And when you and I were chatting, it's not just that COVID was what happened when COVID disrupted digital, it also disrupted all of the companies' ability to kind of achieve their sustainability goals, because they were having to pivot in a pandemic to operating in a digital world. If I take retailers as the simplest example, retailers are now having to ship more items directly to a home versus actually shipping items to a store in mass where customers would then come and purchase from. I don't know, how did you see that playing out as well, as you've been trying to measure and track all of the sustainability goals?
No, yeah, that's a great point, Stacey. So yeah, over the last 12 months at our retail clients, we've definitely seen logistics and IT expenditures going up. And when we look at the emissions profile of online ordering, I think it has increased as a multiplier of traditional way of shopping in store. So what if we could educate or raise awareness or give a choice to end user and consumers, to give them an option in terms of, do I want those shiny shoes tomorrow, or can I wait for 3 days? And then make sure they understand the impact they're going to make on people, planet. I think that is the vision, and that's what organizations are aspiring to bring together.
Oh, so exactly, and I think when we've looked at the vision, as I said before, we kind of start at step one now. Take all the data and integration points that you've pulled together, expose them in a single dashboard. The next step we want to take is not just have your benchmark, but start to help customers think about, what are the KPIs that I want to actually achieve? What are the actions I'm taking to achieve those? And how am I progressing against those at some kind of capacity? And Fred, you and I were talking, it's not just the customer, it's their suppliers, it's their clients, it's their investors, it's the government. Who am I missing?
Yeah, no. We all seen the BlackRock yearly or annual letter to CEOs. I think last July, BlackRock punished a couple of organizations for not doing the right thing. So increased investor regulatory focus on ESG performance. The increased number of disclosures really demand action from organizations. You mentioned communities, consumers, employees. I think they want to make differentiated and informed decisions. I think Accenture research showed that I think 81% of consumers want to buy eco-friendly products in the next 5 years. 70% of employees want to work for responsible, purpose-driven organizations. And then investors, I think we can now demonstrate that organizations with high ESG performance outgrow operating profit 2.8 times the rate of organizations who lag behind. So this is well on the radar of our clients, and organizations do recognize the need for a reliable platform and capability to help manage, track, and report these metrics, set targets, understand their strategies, aligned to all of the relevant frameworks like SASB, TCFD, and the United Nations Development Goals.
Yes, those are all, when you look at it, and I think their goal is to accomplish it by 2030. I know that, as we talked about earlier, the pandemic has kind of hampered that goal, but notwithstanding lots of focus on trying to achieve it still. I might pivot a little bit then to thinking about where are we headed with these different industries and kind of if we were to get all of this in place. So say we get past stage 1, we know our benchmarks. We get past stage 2, we've got our KPIs around even maybe the 17 different initiatives that they're focused on and how I'm moving that forward. I'm adhering to what we expect to be probably government required reporting in the future. I think New Zealand, for example,
Yep.
banks are going to be required to report on that going forward.
That's right. I think New Zealand last year in September announced they would be the first country to require their financial services sector to report on climate risk. And what that means is that it's a regime of comply or explain in terms of, again, reporting on the governance, the strategies and the risk management of climate change risk for their organization, and that becomes mandatory by 2023. So our organizations really need to take a proactive stance, understand their risk profile, put capabilities in place, understand the data they have available and the relevant gaps, and bring that together throughout the organization from a scorecard perspective in terms of what does that baseline look like, how are they tracking versus their targets, and what actions do they need to take to minimize that risk.
Yes, so I think now we've gotten kind of step 1 and 2 in my mind, and now the third step that we want to get to is actually embedding this in every process that's within the business. So as any decisions being made, whether again it's with the client, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the CFO, whether it's the customer. So there's a few ways in the future, we've alluded to a few of them. So the first one being just highlighting what you were talking about. So imagine Commerce Cloud being your point of purchase for your products. And at the time of sale, I really do want the shiny shoes tomorrow, but actually the party isn't until Friday. I can wait. And I notice that when I go to purchase it, not only does it give me the shipping options with cost, but actually gives me the carbon emission impact I would have. I think what our research says is 71% of customers will choose the green option if it's presented to them. So in a perfect world, if I've taken the data that you're starting to consolidate and integrate about energy impacts, I bring that into Salesforce and I start to expose it in Commerce Cloud as the customer's making their decision. Not only can I track as a company what I've driven across all the sales I've got, but I can actually even start to put that at the customer level. And I can communicate to the customer over time, you've saved this much in your own impact. And customers who really care about that, I mean, I was speaking with some millennials as I walked in here today, and they couldn't believe they hadn't heard about some of the Sustainability Cloud stuff, and they were eager to figure out how can I help, because this matters to me so much, because it's me that's going to be living here longer than you. I told them I'm not that old. I'm going to be here too. But it's how do we then take that and embed it in these day-to-day processes? So that's just one example. What else have you been seeing clients ask for today? I think we were talking about an office company even, some work you're doing even early on that maybe isn't systematic yet.
Yeah, lots of client conversations on bringing this together. We've seen retailers coming out with greener choices programs, really exploring how they can keep product longer in the value chain, move to zero waste warehousing. How can they build new capabilities around end-of-life product recycling? I mentioned keeping things longer in the value chain, repair capability. So how do you bring that ecosystem of different stakeholders across the organization, consumers, suppliers, ecosystem partners together to come up with that new value prop which meets those sustainability objectives? And frankly, requirements of consumers like you and I in everyday life.
Yeah, I definitely will wait a couple days for my shiny shoes. So, some other interesting ones we've explored is, because we've talked about the 17 objectives are much more than just the carbon footprint, is how do we enable people of all backgrounds, of all access to education, the opportunities to be successful. And one of the ones I found very intriguing and inspiring is giving banks the opportunity to start to look for small business customers that might be minority-led or owned, that have a great idea, but haven't had access to the financial education or knowledge of kind of how to set those things up. So how great would it be if they could actually use data to kind of find opportunities to then provide that education to those individuals, help them set up a business, and find something that was kind of an equitable finance position for both the bank and the customer, and think about all the potential new business ideas and models we might come with. I think we all know that diversity, all it ever does is seems to provide us more ideas, more opportunities, and so that was just another one that kind of I thought was really exciting, that if we can start to elevate some of those opportunities and get more education out, it would go a far way. Well, I know what we're focused on. Like I've said, I've built a lot of products with Salesforce in the past, and where we find the most success is when we work early with a customer and actually take customer requirements to evolve that product. I know, Fred, you and I have been brainstorming, but I encourage all of you that are out there today, if you're interested in being one of the pioneers on not just achieving your own goals, but also evolving a product that the rest of the community can start to take advantage of, I encourage you to come talk to us, because we're working on taking it from more than a dashboard and a set of KPIs to embedding it into every business process in every cloud. You've already got your data in the clouds. Fred has the rest of your data throughout the organization that we're going to integrate. And we really are excited about the technology we can give everyone to actually make this world a better place. And I think that was what excites me about this. It's not just a sales tool, it's actually a tool to make a difference for the world. So anyway, Fred, appreciate you. Any last comments?
No, I think the future is now, and let's make a sustainable future possible, and let's start now.
Sounds good. We already started, right?
That's right.
All right. Thank you. And thank you.